3 months ago I died. My name is Dr. Marcus Kellerman. I was a NASA astrophysicist specializing in interstellar object detection for the Atlas Survey program. What Jesus revealed to me about Comet 3I Atlas isn't just about space. It's about every soul on Earth. Tomorrow, October 30th, when this comet reaches perihelion, a spiritual threshold opens. Something most people will never see with telescopes. But I saw it during those 7 minutes when my heart stopped. And what I learned changes everything. I spent 17 years studying the stars. My entire career was built on data, orbital mechanics, spectroscopy. I analyzed light from objects billions of miles away and reduced them to numbers, trajectories, probabilities. I was good at it, really good. By 2025, I'd helped identify dozens of near-Earth objects, tracked asteroid paths, contributed to planetary defense protocols. My work mattered, or so I thought. July 1st, 2025. That was the day we announced Comet 3I Atlas to the world. The third confirmed interstellar object ever detected. Not from our solar system, not bound by our sun's gravity. A visitor from another star system, passing through on a trajectory that would bring it closer to Earth than any interstellar object we'd ever observed. I was proud. The press conferences, the interviews, the academic papers. This was my legacy. Dr. Marcus Kellerman, the man who helped unveil one of the most significant astronomical discoveries of the century. My name would be in textbooks. My research would be cited for decades, but I had no idea what was coming. My marriage was falling apart. I hadn't noticed. Too busy tracking a comet millions of miles away to notice my wife was disappearing right in front of me. Too focused on analyzing spectral data to see the way my daughter looked at me when I missed another recital, another dinner, another promise. Sarah stopped asking me to come home early. Emma stopped showing me her drawings. My marriage was falling apart. I hadn't noticed. Too busy tracking a comet millions of miles away to notice my wife was disappearing right in front of me. Too focused on analyzing spectral data to see the way my daughter looked at me when I missed another recital, another dinner, another promise. Sarah stopped asking me to come home early. Emma stopped showing me her drawings. They'd learned that the stars mattered more than they did. I told myself it was temporary, just until the perihelion data was collected, just until the research was published, just until the next grant cycle, just until. But there's never enough time when you're chasing infinity. August 19th, I was in my office at the Goddard Space Flight Center, reviewing preliminary spectroscopy results from 3I Atlas. Strange readings. The comet's coma showed chemical signatures we couldn't explain. Not impossible, just unusual. Organic compounds in concentrations that didn't match standard models. I was already drafting another paper in my mind. Another citation for my record. My chest tightened. I thought it was stress, lack of sleep, too much coffee, not enough water. I loosened my tie, took a deep breath, reached for my phone to call Sarah. Maybe I'd go home early for once, maybe. The pain hit like a supernova. My left arm went numb. The room tilted. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't respond. I remember thinking absurdly that I needed to save my work. The data file was still open. If I crashed the program, I'd lose hours of analysis. Then I was on the floor. The ceiling tiles were yellowed, water-stained. I'd never noticed that before. 17 years working in this building, and I'd never looked up at those tiles. Someone was shouting. The fire alarm was going off. No, not a fire alarm. My phone, ringing. Sarah's name on the screen, 3 feet away, impossibly far. Everything went dark, and then I was standing. No pain, no pressure in my chest. I felt light, weightless, like I was floating in zero gravity during the parabolic flights I'd taken for NASA training. But I wasn't floating. I was standing in my office, looking down at a man lying on the floor, face gray, lips blue, eyes half open and staring at nothing. It took me a moment to realize I was looking at myself. 2 security guards burst through the door. No pain, no pressure in my chest. I felt light, weightless, like I was floating in zero gravity during the parabolic flights I'd taken for NASA training. But I wasn't floating. I was standing in my office, looking down at a man lying on the floor, face grey, lips blue, eyes half open and staring at nothing. It took me a moment to realize I was looking at myself. 2 security guards burst through the door. One dropped to his knees beside my body, checking for a pulse. The other was already on the radio, calling for medical assistance. I tried to tell them I was right here, that I was fine, that they didn't need to panic. But when I spoke, no sound came out. When I reached for the guard's shoulder, my hand passed through him like smoke. I wasn't breathing, I wasn't blinking, but I was aware, completely impossibly aware. The guard started chest compressions. I watched my body jerk with each thrust, watched my head loll to the side, watched blood trickle from the corner of my mouth where I'd bitten my tongue. This couldn't be happening. This was physiologically impossible. Consciousness required brain activity. Brain activity required oxygen. Oxygen required a beating heart. But I was conscious, and then the room began to change. The walls didn't dissolve exactly. They became transparent, translucent, like looking through layers of frosted glass. Beyond them, I could see light. Not the fluorescent lights of the office building, but something else. Something vast and warm and impossibly bright. It pulled at me, not physically, but in a way I can't describe. Like gravity, but for the soul instead of the body. I moved toward it, or it moved toward me. The distinction stopped mattering. The office disappeared. The guards, my body, the yellowed ceiling tiles, all of it fell away like a discarded coat. I was in a tunnel, except tunnel isn't the right word because there were no walls. Just darkness on all sides and light ahead, growing larger, growing closer, growing into everything. The light should have hurt my eyes, should have been blinding. But it wasn't. It was warm, safe. It felt like coming home after years of being lost, except I'd never known I was lost until that moment. And then I emerged into it. Suddenly I was in a place that human words could never describe. The light was everywhere, but it wasn't just light. It was presence. It was awareness. It was love so complete, so unconditional, that every relationship I'd ever had felt like a pale shadow in comparison. I felt seen, truly seen. Not just my accomplishments or my credentials, but everything. Every thought, every choice, every moment of pride and fear and selfishness and desperate hope. And standing before me was Jesus. I know how that sounds. I know the skepticism that comes with claims like this. I would have rolled my eyes at this story 3 months ago. But I'm telling you what happened. And when you're standing in the presence of the divine, skepticism becomes irrelevant. He didn't look like the paintings. No flowing robes, no glowing halo, no European features. He was light, but he was also a person. I could see his face, his eyes, his expression. And the love radiating from him was so intense, so overwhelming, that I fell to my knees. Not out of religious obligation. Not because I thought I should, but because my legs couldn't hold me anymore. "Marcus," he said. My name, he spoke my name. And in that single word, I heard every prayer I'd never prayed, every doubt I'd never voiced, every longing I'd buried beneath equations and research grants and the pursuit of scientific glory. "You've studied the stars," he said, his voice carrying the weight of eternity and the gentleness of a whisper at the same time. "But you've missed their creator." I wanted to defend myself, to explain that I was a scientist, that I dealt in evidence and data, that I couldn't base my life on faith in something I couldn't measure. But the words died before they reached my lips, because standing before him, all my arguments felt hollow. I hadn't rejected God because of lack of evidence. I'd rejected him because he was inconvenient, because acknowledging a creator meant acknowledging accountability. And I didn't want to be accountable to anything except my own ambition. Images began to appear around me, not on a screen, not projected. They simply existed, surrounding me like I was standing in the center of a sphere made of memories. My life, every moment, every choice, seen not from my perspective but from a higher one. I saw myself as others saw me, as God saw me. I saw Sarah crying in our bedroom after I'd forgotten our anniversary for the 3rd year in a row. I saw Emma sitting alone at her elementary school science fair, the only kid whose parent didn't show up. I saw colleagues I'd undermined to get ahead. I saw credit I'd taken for work that wasn't entirely mine. I saw the small cruelties, the casual arrogance, the way I'd weaponized my intelligence to make others feel small. I saw myself at Sunday dinners with my parents, nodding along when they talked about church, about faith, about God's plan, while internally mocking them for clinging to ancient superstitions. I saw the contempt I felt for people who believed in things they couldn't prove, who trusted in prayer instead of planning, who wasted their lives on hope instead of embracing the cold comfort of cosmic indifference. And I saw July 1st again, the press conference, the announcement of Comet 3I Atlas. I saw my face on the screen, glowing with pride. And I heard Jesus speak again. "You announced this comet to the world," he said, "but you didn't understand what you were seeing." He gestured and the images shifted. The comet appeared before me, not as spectroscopic data or orbital mechanics, but as it truly was. A massive ball of ice and rock and dust, hurtling through space at impossible speeds, trailing a coma of gas that stretched for millions of miles. Beautiful, terrible, ancient. "This is not just a comet," Jesus said. "It's a sign, a sign." The word hung in the air between us, heavy with implications I couldn't fully grasp. "Many looked for signs on September 23rd, he continued. They expected revelation. They expected divine intervention. They expected the world to change. But they were looking in the wrong places. They were searching the sky for spectacle when they should have been searching their hearts for truth." September 23rd. I remembered the YouTube videos, the conspiracy theories, the prophecies about alignment of stars and the end of days. And I'd laughed at them, dismissed them as pseudoscience and religious hysteria. But now, standing before Christ, I realized I'd been just as blind as the people I'd mocked. They'd been looking for signs in celestial mechanics. I'd been looking for meaning in equations. Both of us had missed the point. "Tomorrow," Jesus said, and the word struck me like thunder, "when this comet reaches perihelion, a door opens." I felt my heart, or whatever passed for a heart in this place, begin to race. "Not a door that telescopes can see," he continued. "Not a door that spectroscopy can measure. A spiritual door, an invitation, a choice that every soul on earth will face, whether they know it or not. Spiritual warfare, not a metaphor, not a religious concept, real, happening right now, invisible to human eyes, but more real than anything I'd ever measured with instruments. This comet," Jesus said, "marks a season, a time of separation, a time of choosing. Some will see it and remember that the heavens declare the glory of God. Others will see it and cling harder to their pride, their skepticism, their determination to be their own gods." I wanted to ask which category I fell into, but I already knew. I'd chosen pride. I'd chosen skepticism. I'd chosen to worship at the altar of my own intelligence and call it enlightenment. "You're going to show me 3 things, I whispered, the words coming from somewhere deep inside me, from a part of myself I'd never acknowledged before. Jesus nodded. "The first 2 are warnings about false prophets, about deception masquerading as truth, about people who will use this comet, use these signs to lead souls astray." The vision shifted again. I saw preachers proclaiming dates and times. I saw channels promising secret knowledge. I saw fear being weaponized, hope being monetized, faith being twisted into something unrecognizable. And I saw millions of people desperate for meaning, for purpose, for reassurance that their lives mattered, falling into these traps because they couldn't tell truth from counterfeit. "But the third thing," Jesus said, his voice dropping lower, heavier, "the third thing I'm going to show you will terrify you, because it's not about others, it's about you." I felt ice flood through my veins. What could be more terrifying than seeing my entire life exposed, seeing the depth of my pride and selfishness laid bare? "You have a choice to make," he said. "Tomorrow, when the comet reaches perihelion, you will have 48 hours. 48 hours to decide who you serve. Yourself or me, your ambition or my purpose, your legacy or the souls I placed in your path." "But I'm dead," I said, gesturing vaguely toward wherever my body was, lying on the floor of my office, surrounded by panicking colleagues. "No," Jesus said, and for the first time he smiled. It was sad and beautiful and full of an ache I couldn't name. Not yet. I'm sending you back. Not because your mission is complete, but because it's just beginning. The light began to fade. Wait, I gasped, reaching for him. The third thing. What is it? What am I supposed to see? But he was already disappearing, the vision dissolving, the warmth draining away like water through my fingers. You'll know, his voice echoed from somewhere far away. When you're ready, you'll know. And then I was falling, back through the tunnel, back through the layers of light and darkness, back into the cold, heavy, impossible weight of a physical body. I slammed back into myself like a door slamming shut, and suddenly I could feel everything. The pressure of hands on my chest, the taste of blood in my mouth, the screaming of my lungs for oxygen. I gasped, eyes flying open, and stared up at a paramedic's startled face. "He's back!" someone shouted. We got him back. But I wasn't back. Not really. Because a part of me was still standing in that light, still hearing those words, still feeling the weight of a choice I didn't understand how to make. Tomorrow is October 30th, the day 3i Atlas reaches perihelion, the day the spiritual threshold opens. And I have 48 hours to understand what that means. 48 hours to grasp the third thing Jesus showed me, the revelation that changed everything. What I experienced in that encounter wasn't just a warning about false prophets and spiritual deception. It wasn't just about other people being led astray. It was about me. About the choice I'd been avoiding my entire life. About the truth I'd spent 17 years running from while I stared at the stars and pretended I was searching for answers. The first two revelations were clear. I understood them. But the third one, the one that would terrify me, I'm about to tell you what it is. And I need you to understand that this isn't just my story. This is your story too. Because tomorrow, when that comet reaches perihelion, the door opens for everyone. And what you do in the next 48 hours might be the most important choice you ever make. But first, I need to tell you about the warnings, about what Jesus showed me regarding the great deception, about the false prophets who will use celestial signs to lead people away from truth, even while claiming to lead them toward it. Because if you don't understand the deception, you won't recognize the truth when it's standing right in front of you, and time is running out. Jesus looked at me with eyes that held all of eternity. And in that moment, standing in that place beyond description, I knew I was about to hear the third thing. The thing I couldn't tell my colleagues. The thing that would change everything. The third thing he showed me about Comet 3i Atlas, I began. And even now, my voice catches when I speak of it. It's not a warning of destruction. It's a sign of separation. I watched as his expression shifted, filled with a love so profound it nearly broke me. And then he spoke words that I've carried with me every single day since. This comet, Jesus said, is interstellar. It came from beyond your solar system, from a place you cannot see with your instruments. Just as this comet is a visitor passing through, so are you. This Earth is not your home. The weight of that truth settled over me like a blanket. We're visitors here, travelers, and 3i Atlas, this impossible visitor from beyond, is a mirror of our own journey. Tomorrow, he continued, and his voice carried both urgency and tenderness. October 30th, as this comet reaches perihelion, its closest point to the sun, a spiritual threshold will be crossed. Those whose hearts are ready will sense it, not with their eyes, not with their telescopes, but with their spirits. I felt it then, a shift, a cosmic alignment that transcended physics and entered the realm of the soul. Tomorrow, the date was specific. The moment was real, and I understood that not everyone would feel it, but those who were meant to would know. Suddenly, the space around me transformed. I saw it. The spiritual realm, home. It was more real than anything I'd ever experienced in my laboratory, more solid than any data I'd ever analyzed. Colors that don't exist in our spectrum, music that wasn't sound but feeling, and souls, countless souls, moving in perfect harmony, connected by threads of light I could almost touch. This is where you're going, Jesus whispered. This is what awaits those who choose it. Tears streamed down my face. Or maybe they didn't. I wasn't sure if I even had a physical form anymore in that moment. But I felt the overwhelming rush of coming home. of belonging, of purpose beyond anything I'd ever imagined. Then his expression grew serious. "But you must understand something," he said, and I leaned closer. "Many will claim to speak for me about signs and wonders. Many will point to dates and predictions, and when those days pass, the world will mock. But I speak directly to those who listen, not through sensationalism, not through fear, through the still, small voice in the heart." I thought of September 23rd, the prophecies that had circulated, the predictions that came and went, the mockery that followed. I thought of September 23rd, the prophecies that had circulated, the predictions that came and went, the mockery that followed. September 23rd came and went, I found myself saying, and Jesus nodded. "The world mocked," he agreed. "But the true sign wasn't a date on a calendar. It's a comet no one can see without tools. A reminder that spiritual truth requires spiritual eyes. The visible world is not all there is. Those who mock what they cannot see with their physical eyes will never understand what you now know." By December, he explained, when 3-eye Atlas becomes visible through telescopes, many will say, "See, it was just a rock, just a ball of ice and dust." But those who felt the spiritual shift tomorrow, on October 30th, would know differently. They would understand that the physical comet was merely the shadow of a spiritual reality. "Do you understand?" he asked, and his hand reached toward me. I nodded, unable to speak, and then he spoke words directly to my soul. Words I believe are meant for you too, if you're watching this. Words that bypassed my ears and entered directly into my spirit. "Tell them I'm coming." Tell them to watch, not with their telescopes, not with their calendars, but with their hearts. The separation is beginning. Those who are mine will know. They will feel it. And when they do, they must choose. Stay comfortable in this temporary home, or prepare for the eternal one. It was at that moment, standing in the presence of God himself, that I felt a shift, a pull, and I knew what was coming next. "But I have to show you something first," Jesus said, and his voice carried a weight that made me tremble. The third revelation, the forbidden truth. The space around us changed again. We were standing, if you could call it that, above the comet itself. I could see it, through Atlas, not as data on a screen, not as trajectory calculations, but as it truly was, a cosmic messenger traveling through the void, carrying something that science could never measure. "You called them strange chemical signals," Jesus said, and I remembered the reports. The readings we couldn't explain. Molecular signatures that made no sense. But I wrote them. They're in a language science will never decode because they're written in the language of the Spirit. I stared at the comet and suddenly I could see it. Not the chemicals themselves, but the meaning behind them. Like looking at sheet music and hearing the symphony. Like reading poetry in a language you suddenly understand for the first time. "I am writing in the cosmos what I've written in Scripture," Jesus continued. "I'm coming soon, be ready. Prepare your hearts. The separation is at hand." And in that moment, standing in the presence of perfect love, I broke. I wept, not from fear, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming weight of being known, of being seen, of understanding that every chemical signature, every orbital calculation, every piece of data I'd ever studied was part of a divine symphony I'd been too blind to hear. God was speaking. He'd always been speaking. Through stars and comets, through scripture and science, through the very atoms that make up our bodies. And I'd spent my entire career measuring his words without ever hearing his voice. Then everything shifted again. I felt a pull, violent, urgent. The light began to fade. Jesus' face grew distant. "Not yet," he said, and I felt his hand on my chest. "You have to go back. You have to tell them." "No!" I tried to shout, tried to hold on, but the realm was dissolving around me. The last thing I remember is his eyes, those eternal eyes, filled with love, filled with promise, filled with the assurance that this wasn't goodbye. It was "see you soon." And then pain, excruciating, burning pain in my chest, voices distant, growing closer. "We've got a pulse." He's back. Time of revival, 11:52 p.m. He was gone for 7 minutes. I gasped, my lungs burning as air rushed back into them. Fluorescent lights, white ceiling tiles, the antiseptic smell of the hospital. I was back. My colleagues stood over me, their faces a mixture of relief and shock. 7 minutes. I'd been dead for 7 minutes, but I'd lived a lifetime in that realm. I'd seen eternity. I'd met Jesus, and I'd been given a message. Everything changed after that night. I called my daughter the next morning. We hadn't spoken in 3 years. Pride, stubbornness, petty arguments that seemed so important before and so meaningless now. I apologized. I wept on the phone, and she wept with me. By that weekend, she came to visit. I met my grandson for the first time, a 2-year-old boy who looked at me with eyes full of wonder, not knowing that his grandfather had just returned from the other side. That moment, holding him in my arms, feeling his little hand grip my finger, was the second greatest moment of my life. The first was meeting Jesus. I still study the stars. I still work at NASA, but everything is different now. I don't look at data the same way. I don't see cosmic phenomena as random events governed by cold physics. I see the hand that placed them. I hear the voice that speaks through them. My colleagues think I've gone soft. Maybe I have, but I've also gone awake. I was lost in data, drowning in numbers and trajectories and calculations that told me how, but never why. But Jesus found me through a comet I couldn't have imagined, through a visitor from beyond that reminded me I'm a visitor here too. So here we are. Today is October 29th. Tomorrow, Comet 3I Atlas reaches perihelion, its closest point to the sun. I don't know what you'll feel tomorrow. I don't know if you'll sense anything at all. But I know this, Jesus is speaking. Through the cosmos, through this message, through the stirring in your heart right now. You're watching this for a reason, not by accident, not by some algorithmic coincidence. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to know. Don't look for signs and dates that came and went. Don't look for prophecies that were wrong. Don't let the world's mockery of failed predictions cause you to miss the real sign that's happening right now. The sign isn't out there in space. It's in here, in your heart, in the quiet voice asking, is there more? Is this really all there is? And the answer is yes. There is more, so much more. This isn't about doom. This isn't about fear. This is about readiness, about being awake to the reality that we're visitors here and someone is calling us home. So what do you do? How do you prepare? It's simpler than you think. Talk to him, pray. Not with fancy words or religious formulas. Just talk. Tell him you're listening. Tell him you want to hear. Heal your relationships. That person you haven't spoken to in years, call them. That grudge you've been holding, let it go. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Eternity is. And be authentic. Stop pretending. Stop hiding behind the version of yourself you think you're supposed to be. God sees you. He knows you. And he loves you exactly as you are. You don't need a telescope to see what matters. You don't need a PhD in astrophysics. You need an open heart. That's it. That's all he's asking for. And here's what I can promise you. You are loved beyond measure, beyond comprehension, by a God who writes messages in comets that science can't decode, by a Savior who met me in death and sent me back with a message for you. Comet 3I Atlas will fade from view. By next year it'll be gone, traveling back into the void from which it came. But the truth it carries will echo in eternity. The separation is real, the calling is urgent, and the choice is yours. I was a NASA scientist who died and met Jesus, a man who spent his life studying the heavens without ever seeing heaven. And a comet from beyond our solar system became the bridge between death and life, between blindness and sight, between existence and purpose. Now you know what they didn't want you to see. Not a threat from space, not a doomsday prophecy, but an invitation from heaven, a cosmic calling card from a God who loves you enough to write it in the stars. I was dead, clinically, medically, irrevocably dead for 7 minutes. And I've never been more alive than I am right now. If this story stirred something in your spirit, don't ignore it. That stirring is the same voice that spoke to me through that comet. That's Jesus calling you home. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been searching. Someone who feels like a visitor here, longing for something more. And tomorrow, October 30th, when that comet reaches its closest point, just listen. Quiet yourself, open your heart, and see if you can hear what I heard. what I'm still hearing. Because eternity is real, heaven is real, and he is coming soon. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Divine encounters that science can't explain. Testimonies that bridge the gap between the physical and the spiritual. Because I'm not done sharing. I've seen too much. I know too much. And there are too many people who need to hear that this temporary home isn't all there is. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And may you feel tomorrow what I felt when I stood in the presence of love himself and understood that we're all going home. God bless you, and keep watching the skies, not for threats, but for messages, because he's still speaking. He's always been speaking, and if you listen closely enough, you'll hear him too.